Welcome to the Somos Sunnyside podcast, brought to you by the Office of Public Information, where we are sharing stories about the bright side of education.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. I'm your host, Jose Gastelum, proud superintendent of the Sunnyside Unified School District. And our goal is to bring you stories to highlight the amazing things that are happening in the Sunnyside community, at our schools, and the amazing people we get to work with every day. And today we have another amazing person. We have Evelyn Jaramillo. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, we want to highlight, some of these recognitions, these great recognitions for the hard work you're putting in. And so, one of the things that you were just an honoree of the 40 under 40. But before we get there,
yes,
we're gonna talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about just your upbringing. I think it's always interesting to the listeners to hear the story that people have. Talk a little bit about their journey and how they had that support, how they reached that success. And so let's talk a little bit about your upbringing. So where are you from, Evelyn?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I'm born and raised. Lived here most of my life, other than sometimes when I've gone other places. Yeah, and graduated from the U of A and come from a working class family who has taught me to just really put all that effort and work really hard. And I think that that's why people have noticed, because I just give it 100% all the time. Yeah.
Well, awesome. I mean, your work is definitely getting noticed, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the recognition here. So, you are a Tucsonan, and I'm gonna. So, where'd you go to elementary, middle, high school? I know it wasn't an SUSD, so you missed out, but you're here now, so that's what's important. And I know my biases are coming out here, but
yes.
Tell us where you went to school, because I think it's important for our young listeners to hear these amazing stories of successful people that have come from this community. And although you didn't attend schools here in Sunnyside, you were raised in the community here.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
tell us a bit about that, and tell us your title. I mean, we probably should have started with that. We what you do here in the district, your role, but take it from there.
Yeah, so I grew up going to Warren Elementary, then transferred to Pister Middle School, and then to Pueblo High School, where I graduated, and then again went to the U of A as an undergrad, and then got my master's and doctorate at the U of A. So yes.
So you have two PhDs, right? The last guest we had on the show was also a Pueblo grad, and I asked her if she had heard about the PhD thing from Pueblo, and so it's so you got the Pueblo High School diploma,
Yes.
PhD,
Uh-huh.
and you have the PhD from the University of Arizona.
Yes, I got two of them.
So she's got
Proud
two
of
of
both of those.
Absolutely, and those are
Yes.
definitely a lot of hard work. And so you went to school in TUSD, raised here in the community, and tell us a bit about your family. I think. As we spoke earlier, you're a first generation college grad, and I have a lot of respect for those individuals that just keep going and really set the trends for their families, right? And that needs to continue to happen. I want our young listeners to hear that they can be successful, they can go to college, and I always like to frame it as there's no excuse not to. There really isn't. It's not even money. Because there's ways to do it, and if even if you have to get a little loan here and there, but there's financial support, and I call these people the trailblazers. These are the ones, the first generation grads, truly set the tone for their siblings and for their younger cousins, and they're just an example, and they're definitely somebody that the family can go to and ask questions, because you've been through the process. And so tell us a little bit about, that piece of it, your upbringing, and although you're a first generation college grad, and I share the same sentiments. I always talk about how my parents couldn't really talk to me about college, right? The details of college, but they always talked to me about getting educated, going to school, earn your degree, that piece of hard work and my dad used to tease and say, hey, ¿quieres estar con el pico y la pala? You know, 'cause he was a construction worker, and you know, he took me out a couple times to work, and I was like, oh, heck no, this isn't for me. Although I appreciate it now that I can use a pico and a pala when needed, and learned it. But, you know, he says, get a career.
Yeah.
You know, get a career. You don't want a day-to-day job where it's here today and gone tomorrow. And so for our listeners, tell us a little bit about, you know, that mindset, that upbringing that you experience, you know, with your parents, and how big is your family? Because Mexican families are big, right? I mean, we got huge families, and so tell us a bit about that.
You know, the funny thing is, like, in school, you have to do your, like, genogram of, like, your family. I was like, most people come with that one pager, right? I'm like, I got like 10 pages.
You had chapters?
Yeah. They're big.
Chapter
I have
1.
a huge family, but sections. But I come from a family that is hardworking. My mom, I think, honestly, like, I always tell students who graduate or go to school, like, it's you made that effort, you did it, right? But I think there's a lot of people that support you to get there. And I think, honestly, I'm gonna say that my mom is probably the biggest, because she is one of the most hardworking people I have ever met, and continues to be, and just never gives up. She just goes, and I think I have a lot of those traits sometimes. But she always taught us to be strong females, that you can be independent, and that you needed to go to school to be able to do that. And so it was really important. Again, I don't think she ever visioned us going to college. It was just a big emphasis of school. School is so important. And my dad also graduated from Pueblo, and so he always pushed, and my mom only speaks Spanish, or she knows a little bit of English, so my dad had to help us a lot. And they have an older sister who started the way and paved the way, and as a middle child, you want to follow, right? You want to be like them. And so I just kind of followed her footsteps and really pushed myself to keep trying, and she helped a lot as well. But I think just going to school was just an expectation and doing well. In high school, you know, A's were expected. You didn't, you got anything less, it was not good.
So were you like a 4.0 student in high school?
I was salutatorian at Pueblo,
Yeah.
so yeah.
You fit the mold. I'm like, I bet she was a valedictorian, salutatorian.
I love school.
I wish I could say the same, but I wasn't. I was probably like lower threes.
No, I love school. I love school. I wish I could still go to school. You know, you learn all the time. But I think...
I think you're the second salutatorian I know from Pueblo. I think Mr. Castro, Mario Castro, our director of CTE, was salutatorian as well back in the day. We'll have to double check that. But I do remember that. You know, one of the pieces I want to hit on, and that really resonates with me, is this piece of being an independent young woman, right? You know, growing up and you know, and I want to choose my words carefully because I don't want to offend people, but you know, we're here to be real, right? Yeah. And so growing up, I mean, I think in Hispanic families there is this machismo that goes on, and the woman's supposed to stay home, and the you know, the man's the breadwinner, and you know, la cena better be ready when I get home, and this and that, right? And so, you know, we grew up that way. You know, my mom took care of kids. My dad was a construction worker. And if we were anywhere, hey, your dad's coming home. I got to go home. We got to make dinner, this, and that, right? And so, you know, I remember always sharing that with my sisters, saying, you know, you guys, you got to go to school. You got to, you know, don't rely on a man, you know, this kind of thing, you know, be independent. And I'm also putting that plug out there because Christmas is near, and I want them to get me some nice gifts. And so I'm definitely, I hope they're listening. But no, you know, to be serious, I mean, it's true, you know. And I think when I was in the classroom, and even as a principal, I would share that with our young female students, like, hey, don't rely on anybody. You go out and do it yourself, you know, and you can. And so I'm glad you shared that, you know, with our listeners, and because, you know, it's definitely possible, and you're proof here, right? You know, Southside kid here, and you're now Doctora Jaramillo, right? And you're we didn't talk about your position, but you're a school psychologist in the district, and so you worked at several sites. I know you've spent a lot of time at Mission Manor, you've served Gallego, Ocotillo Learning Center, and probably other schools as well, and what led you to go in that direction, right, in that field? Why did you choose school psychology? Because I think growing up, and here's another thing, growing up in the South, because let's be honest, Southside's a small bubble.
Yes.
Right. When I heard of
psychologist,
psychologists, I used to say, and I don't want to offend people, but those are for the locals, right? You're like counseling. Nope, that's for people that are that don't have it all together or whatever, right? But the first thing that used to come to my mind is the loquitos, right? And it's no disrespect to those people, but what's important here, my point is, and I want you to talk a little bit about your role as a school psychologist, because that's not accurate at all, right? What I'm saying. And so I'm curious, what tapped into your passion of pursuing that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I started the U of A with microbiology, and I went that route, and I love science. And I went for 2 years, and but then I took one of those math classes, and I took social psychology, and I fell in love with it. And that teacher just changed my perspective. I always was an observer student. My parents always said I was that kid that was inquisitive and kind of person. So I just love human interaction and interacting with people and understanding a person as a whole. And so when I went into psychology as my undergrad, and then decided to do school psychology. I love working with students. I love working to just make impact, and therefore I found school psychology. I didn't even know what a school psychologist did at that point, but then realized that I really wanted to be somewhere where I can impact different layers. So you work with students, you work with teachers, you work with parents, you work with agencies, you work with admin, and that was fascinating. And I wanted to be able to impact the student's life in different aspects and in different kind of layers, because I think if you just focus on one piece, at schools we can just focus on so many places. And so that's what drove me that way. I don't know honestly what exactly passed, but I know that class was the biggest change in me switching from a hard science to what we call soft science, but loving it.
Well, to me, they're all hard sciences, right? I mean, I remember taking, it's interesting, and I'm not going to claim to be a psychologist here, but one of the classes we had to take was educational psychology, and it I did have a deep interest in that. It was super interesting, just listening to the different stories of how kids condition themselves, their way of thinking, their actions and that kind of stuff. I remember the whole Pavlov and all that. See, I listened in class for the most part. I studied when I needed to.
The mind is just so powerful. So
right, and they use like dogs and the white fur and this and that. See, I remember a little bit of it. I probably got like a B in the class, but a low B. But I do remember that, and so I'm glad that you covered that, because school psychologists in our organization are so important, and it's hard to find them. It's hard to hire them, hard to find them. And so we're very thankful that you've spent the majority of your career here with us in Sunnyside serving our students, because there definitely is a need. And I'm starting to get a little nervous here, because as we're doing this interview, I'm like, God, I think she's trying to diagnose my
we don't do that
my needs here and my accommodations and stuff. So you'll probably figure it out by the time we're done, because and it probably doesn't take a psychologist to figure my symptoms out here, but we'll have fun with it, and so.
You never tell anybody you're a psychologist, because as soon as they do, that's the answer
reaction.
You get.
Yeah.
You're analyzing me. What are you thinking? I'm like, I work at a school.
So I may need to reach out for some tips to help with some of the accommodations that can help me, in my job here.
Hey, we all need support.
So we do. Yeah. So. It's super interesting, psychology and I know that, our families, I mean, what's your message to like our parents that, I think, and I don't know, you tell me, I mean, I feel like either in the past, we didn't do and this isn't a knock on Psychologist or the school, organization at all, but I think in the past, and this is just my assumption here, is there was a lot of students that went undiagnosed. But I think part of it is because parents didn't have the information
Correct.
to go ask for help, right? And so to the parents out there, what's our message to our parents, that if they do think that, their child needs support and some sort of child study, because, I think research shows that if detected early, that's best case scenario, right?
Yes, definitely.
And so, we don't want students to struggle when there could be an accommodation provided. And so tell us a little bit about that. What's your message to parents in terms of that?
I would say that if you feel your child is struggling in any area, if it's academics, if it's socially, if it's just adaptively on daily living skills, to reach out to a teacher, whatever teacher they have that year. If not, reach out to a psychologist. There's a psychologist at most of the schools here at Sunnyside, and if not, we will get you in touch with someone. It's always important to advocate for your child, and we want you to advocate because you see those needs, and especially when you're working on homework or you see those pieces. So definitely help them out by being their voice and by advocating for them.
Yeah, and I think parents, your children, right?
Yeah. They
know their children, and so when they notice things that they're maybe struggling with, or some challenges, or something's just not right, then we're here to serve you. The schools are here to serve you, and I think our goal is to make sure that students have a positive experience in school, right? Positive learning experience, and so we're here to help. Don't go away. We're gonna cut to a commercial here, and a lot more to talk about. So stay with us. We'll be right back in a second.
Sunnyside students can have it all, learning and growing to graduate college, career, and community ready. Don't believe us? Just watch. At Sunnyside Unified School District, we are preparing our graduates with real-world skills and experiences. Our graduates are leaving Sunnyside to pursue an Ivy League education, becoming collegiate-level athletes, and earning prestigious scholarships such as the Gates Millennium, Dell, and Dorrance.
All right, so we're back. I want to talk about this 40 Under 40 award that you just received. Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce puts out a 40 Under 40. I don't know if they call it a program, but it definitely is a recognition. And so what that means is they choose 40 individuals in I would say in the local community here, Pima County, I would assume, and they have to be under the age of 40. And so you met both of those, and that's quite an honor when you think about it, because when you think about all the different careers in Southern Arizona, all the successful people in Southern Arizona, that are under 40 years old, that's young. I'm just going to put it out there. It's still young in your career. You were one of them. You were one of the 40. And so, how does that feel? I mean, when you were notified that you were one of the recipients, one of the honorees, did it hit home? I mean, what did that feel like?
I think I was really shocked. I was like, huh? Who did this? Who nominated me? Because I think I don't do my job for that, right? Or it's not a job, it's what I love, right? And so I just love what I do. And so someone noticing that it feels great. And I think one thing I always say, it's, yeah, I got the recognition, but that's because everybody else I've worked with. I have some great team members. A psychologist is not just one person. It's your speech pathologist, your teachers, your sped teachers, your admin, all people. And I have worked with great teams at Mission Manor, at Esperanza, at Ocotillo, all the schools. It's because of them that I got this recognition, because they do the job so well that I think people just recognize that, and they chose me out of all the people. I don't know. It was just really random, and I was very shocked. But again, I really do thank whoever nominated it, and it's just an amazing honor, and I feel proud that I got it, because I didn't know it was such a big deal, and I'm like, oh, it is a big deal. I'm
a
sitting
huge
here
deal.
for that reason. It's great.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And you know, I truly appreciate just your humbleness around this, you know, and it just shows your true character and you know, your unselfishness of, like, you know, you share this award with your colleagues, right? I mean, I think those that you work with and those that you surround yourself with, you know, make you better, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I truly appreciate that. And as you can see, Dr. Jaramillo here, she wants me to call her Evelyn, but I almost feel like I got to call you Doctor because you've earned it. And so Dr. Jaramillo is super appreciative of those individuals. And I think the greatest compliment is when you are nominated by your colleagues, and the greatest awards and recognitions are those that you don't know of, right? Because you're just doing, like you said, you're doing what you love, right?
Yeah.
Your passion is working with young students and helping change their lives, helping better their lives, right? And so somebody noticed your work, and so that's awesome. That's a great accomplishment, and this thing is definitely a big deal. You know, as I said, you're one of 40 in all of Southern Arizona that was recognized, and I think equally importantly, and I'm going to throw this in here selfishly, is you kept the streak alive for Sunnyside. You know,
Yeah.
I think Sunnyside has had a person in there for the last several years, and I don't know how many in a row, but you know, we have amazing people that are working in this district, and I'm glad that the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is recognizing that. You know, we have a great relationship with them, so a big thank you to CEO Rob Elias and his team. And you know, one of the things I love about that organization is that they always reach out to us to invite our students. And when they have big events going on, there's always a table for our students, and he accommodates them, and he understands that it's about providing students opportunities, putting them in those situations that maybe we were never put in, right? When we were young, and exposing them to what's happening, right, in the country, what's happening in Pima County and in Tucson. And so, you know, I do refer to Sunnyside being a tight community, and it's a tight bubble, you know, and sometimes we got to get out of the bubble a little bit. You know, it's okay to get out of the bubble and learn and you know, about other things that are happening out there. And so tell us a little bit about, you know, you just attended the ceremony.
Yeah.
It was at the JW Marriott. So it was a fancy place. And so tell us a little bit about that. Like, you know, what did it feel like? Who was with you? And what does the ceremony consist of? And for those, and for our viewers, of course.
Yeah, so
Or listeners, I should say.
yeah, so they're honoring just the leadership, and there was a lot of honorees, and it was shocking because there was a big pocket of educators, which was really nice to see. And even Man of the Year, they call it, was an educator, so it's awesome to see that. But there were CEOs, there's just everyone. But you know, there was a lot of people from Sunnyside that came.
Yep, we definitely had a table there supporting you.
It just, I think it's unreal. It just felt weird. I was like, oh my God, just don't fall. But yeah, they give you, they were very nice. They honor your leadership. They talk about just wanting to push young people to continue to be, you know, aspiring to do more and help our communities and be good leaders for others, I guess, role models. And hopefully I do that justice, because it is a little nerve-wracking sometimes, because you're like, oh man, I could do more now. And I'm just trying to think of other things I can do. Yeah,
that's awesome. And so, you know, I know when they call you up, they do a little video, and they interview you and stuff like that. So that's always neat to see. And maybe we'll have to put that on our website if we can get a hold of that video. And maybe through our social media or on our website as we air this. And so, you know, that's an awesome compliment to you. And you know, I mean, I'm class of 2013 in terms of 40/40, so I'm bragging here a little bit. And I know I didn't get the Man of the Year, but I was proud to be recognized, and it was quite a surprise. And I really squeaked in right before 40 years old, and so, you know, it definitely is a prestigious honor, and you know, now you're in that club. You know, you'll be invited to a lot of their events and that kind of stuff, and I'm just happy that Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce values education, right? As you mentioned, they usually have, a few honorees that are educators, and I really appreciate that
Awesome.
from them. And so I big deal. And so those people that are out there, those people that are under 40, keep working hard. That could be you, and we got to keep our streak alive, right?
Yes.
And so it's we got, as I said earlier, we got some amazing people working in this district that are changing lives every day, and it's the work we do is hard, right?
Yes.
It's not easy, and so a lot of respect for all our employees, whether you're in the classroom, outside of the classroom, whether in a certified position or classified position. And we say this often: everybody in the organization matters,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
kids and students will always remember how you made them feel, right? They always remember how you made them feel. It's that saying of they may not always remember what you taught them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And so, our goal is for them to have a positive experience, and so that they can be successful and pay it forward, right? As they move on into their careers. And so, as we're wrapping up here, any shout outs that you want to put out there?
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. I do thank the teams that I work with. I think that's who I would want to do a shout out for, because I have some amazing coworkers. And again, I think I got noticed because they do such a good job. And I have amazing speech pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, all those individuals that are in that SPED world, the special education world. We do a hard job, and it's a fun job, and it's a needed job, and they do an amazing job every day, just like everybody. And so just giving them a shout out, because they are amazing.
Yeah, our exceptional ed department's kind of kicking butt here. I think last year it was Jennifer
Cardenas,
Arenas. I know before that we had a couple leaders. We had Matt Kraft, we had Stephanie Ponce, that were 40 under 40, and I'm breaking the rule here. I'm starting to drop names, and you always forget somebody, right, when you drop names. But just wanted to put it out there that, again, amazing individuals that are serving our students here in Sunnyside. And so any plans for the holidays as we approach the holidays? We're gonna 2 weeks off, or
I think we all need it, right?
We all need it, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, just spending time with the family, that's the best part. The best time, spending time with family.
So are you a cook, a baker? And that wasn't like the derogatory term here that women cook and bake, right? Because I like to do that, right? But in any
we
traditions.
make a lot of tamales. Tamales are yummy.
Season.
Tamales, pozole.
Pozole, that's my favorite. That's my specialty. I'm gonna brag though. That's my specialty, pozole.
Yeah,
so
that's yummy.
I'm gonna
I
have
love
to
eating pozole. I always ask that for my birthday, someone to make me pozole, because I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, just time with family. That's always the best part of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So get to Food City.
Yes.
My favorite store, my favorite shopping place, and get all of your hot items there that you need, right? So, I want to wish you, a very enjoyable and relaxing winter break. I want to thank you for what you're doing in our district, and once again, congratulating you on this awesome award. And to our listeners out there, as this will be our last show before we go on winter break for a couple weeks, and from the Sunnyside Unified School District here, we want to wish you all a happy holidays, and spending some quality time with your families, and get your much needed rest. Our people work extremely hard, and these 2 weeks are well deserved, and we hope that you have these enjoyable holidays with your families. And so that wraps up this episode of Somos Sunnyside. See you next year. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it entertaining. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast with la comunidad. For updates on future episodes and more, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at susd12.org. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Hasta la próxima vez en Somos Sunnyside.